This fish is sold in pet stores as an aquarium cleaner. It eats algae, sticks to glass, and looks like a harmless bottom feeder, but in a lot of places around the world, this same fish has become an environmental problem. This is the Pleco, also called a sucker-mouth armored catfish, and it's a perfect example of how one small human decision can affect an entire ecosystem. Before we talk about plecos, we need to understand what an invasive species actually is. An invasive species is not just any animal living somewhere new. It usually means a species that is not native to an ecosystem, but causes harm to the environment, the economy, or even human health. So, with that being said, even if an animal is moved to a new area but doesn't really cause any problems, it's just considered non-native instead of an invasive species. But if it spreads, competes with native species, damages habitats, or does anything that could be harmful, that is when it becomes invasive, and that's where plecos come into play. Now, what are plecos? Plecos are freshwater fish originally from parts of Central and South America. They are known to be popular in aquariums because they have sucker-like mouths that are known for eating algae, which make them great tools for aquariums. A lot of people buy them when they're small, thinking they'll just help keep the tank clean, but here's the problem. When plecos grow a lot bigger than people expect, a lot of them make the mistake of releasing them into local ponds, canals, or rivers, and once that happens, the fish is no longer just a pet. It becomes part of an ecosystem where it doesn't naturally belong. Now, what about plecos makes them a problem? They can be a problem for a few big reasons. First, being they are very tough fish. They have armored bodies, meaning they can survive in different conditions, and in warm climates, they can be able to reproduce and spread very fast. Secondly, they compete with native fish. One common factor with invasive species is that they outcompete native species due to the fact that they have no natural predators. So, every ecosystem has limited space, food, and shelter. When non-native fish become established, it can put extra pressure on the native species that have already been adapted to that environment. But one of the biggest issues is what they can do to the riverbanks. Some types of armored catfish dig burrows into banks for nesting. If enough of them are doing this in one area, those burrows will weaken the shoreline and contribute to erosion. That means the problem is not just underwater, it can affect the edges of rivers, canals, and lakes too. And that's what makes these invasive species so complicated. Now, with this being said, this doesn't make this fish evil, it's just doing what it naturally does. The real issue is that it's doing those things in the wrong ecosystem in the wrong place. But it's important to remember that it's not their fault, and they are in that place due to the results of one human decision, or multiple technically. How do these species actually spread? Most invasive species don't spread because they're trying to take over the world. They spread because humans move them, sometimes through shipping, sometimes through farming, sometimes through illegal pet trading, and most of the time it happens because someone releases an animal that might have been their pet into the wild thinking they're doing the right thing. And with plecos, that's one of the biggest lessons. Releasing a pet may seem kinder than giving it away or finding another solution, but oftentimes it creates a serious environmental problem or leads just to the death of that pet. Just because a fish outgrows a tank does not ever mean it should be dumped into a local waterway. Whether this is an alligator, a snake, a goldfish, it never means this. Now, plecos are not the only example of this. Lionfish are a great example. They've become a major problem in parts of the Atlantic and Caribbean because they eat native fish and reproduce quickly. Burmese pythons, for example, in Florida have changed parts of the Everglades forever by preying on native animals. Zebra mussels spread through waterways and can clog pipes, cover surfaces, and compete with other native species. Another example is invasive carp. They have caused a lot of problems in the U.S. rivers because they outcompete native fish and disrupt the aquatic ecosystems. Different species, different problems, but the pattern is usually the same. A species gets moved somewhere new, finds a way to survive, and then the ecosystem has to deal with the consequences of a species with no natural predators. Now, what can you do to help? The good news is a regular person can help. The biggest rule is simple: never release your pets into the wild. That includes fish, turtles, frogs, anything, snakes. If you have a fish that you can't care for anymore, contact things like a local aquarium, animal rescue, aquarium club, or wildlife agency to ask about safe options. You can also research animals before buying them, see how big they're going to get, different factors that may result in you not being able to care for it anymore. A tiny fish at the store might not be tiny forever, and if you're boating, fishing, or moving gear between waterways, clean and dry your equipment so you don't accidentally move plants, eggs, larvae, or small organisms from one place to another. Stopping invasive species is way easier than trying to remove them after they spread. So, the pleco is not just a harmless aquarium fish. It's a reminder that ecosystems are connected, and even small choices can have huge effects. A fish that seems harmless in a tank can become a massive problem in the wild. And if there's one takeaway from this video, it's this: Don't release pets into nature, because once an invasive species gets established, it can be almost impossible to undo. If you enjoyed this video and you want some more simple explanations about animals, nature, and the environment, please subscribe for more. I hope you have an awesome day. Peace out.